like to welcome you all here today for this special meeting to discuss, well, I'm going to let Mark Tyneway give the introduction to what this meeting is about, and then we'll go around in a circle and introduce each other, or introduce ourselves. So Mark, could you start off, please?
Hey, yeah, my name is Mark Tyneway, and I work for Purse.io, and we maintain a bunch of different Bitcoin full node implementations, including Bcoin and then BCash. So we support, both Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash through Purse.io, and we are here to just kind of talk about trying to grow our developer community. We're looking for more contributors to help us continue to develop BCash in specific, just because with the hard fork schedule, it's really hard to sometimes keep up with all of the new protocol upgrades that are coming to Bitcoin Cash. So we just like to grow our community and help to get more developers collaborating and developing to our projects.
Great, thank you, Mark. Just a quick comment about Purse. Used it since it started. Great program, great company. I'm glad that we are, hopefully we'll be able to help out here. But I want to go around in a circle here and introduce people. So Matthew, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Matthew Zipkin, and I work with Mark at Purse.io. He and I are on the protocol team. So like you said, we focus on Bcoin and Bcash and Handshake implementations. The only thing he didn't mention is that they're all written in Node.js. They're JavaScript implementations of those protocols. They've got great wallets. The Bitcoin was basically designed for Purse because they needed a massive wallet that could scale with accounts and addresses, and that wasn't available at the time in any other implementation, I think including Bitcoin Core. So it's also very easy to read code base, both Bitcoin and Bcash. So for new developers, JavaScript's a very ubiquitous language. A lot of people can read JavaScript the way that you might say most Americans can read English. It's a really easy way to learn how the code works. And there's lots of improvements happening in Bitcoin all the time. Like Mark said, the effort on Bcash is we made it through 2 hard forks already, and we're kind of running out of manpower to maintain it. So I think that's what we're talking about.
All right. Thanks, Matthew. Next on my list is Yannick Pascal. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, so I'm Yannick Pascal. I'm a front-end developer since a few years, and most of my experience is in front-end, but I know a little bit of Node. So the reason that interests me in this project is to learn a bit more about the protocol, and there are interesting things coming like Avalanche. So that's it from me.
Right, thank you. Next on my list is Amaury Séchet.
Yeah, so I'm Amaury Séchet. I'm the lead dev of Bitcoin ABC, which is I think the leading implementation for BCH, but I want to make sure that we have other people to play with.
Great, thank you, Amaury. Mark, you've done your introduction. Jonathan Gonzalez.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Jonathan. I'm a software engineer. I guess I'll give a rundown on how I'm here in general. So in 2017, I actually used to, Andrew Lee actually, which is like the CEO of Purse, put me on to implement Bitcoin Cash in 2017. At the time, I was just getting my feet wet. Oh, hold on.
Your microphone is not quite picking you up. New set of headphones. We're good. I have the ability to edit the recording.
Could you hear me now?
Yes.
What about
Perfect.
I apologize about that. It was the Bluetooth audio. So basically how I got started looking at Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin in general in 2017. I was actually hired. Well, I was actually contracted in 2017 by Andrew to implement Bitcoin Cash at the time for BCash. This is way before they announced it in May. But at the time, I was getting my feet wet, and there was just too many errors in the scripting system at the time. A year and a half or 2 years have passed since then. I've been looking deep inside the code. I've been using it for infrastructure for a couple personal projects, so I know that code very well. So I seen this. I actually didn't know that no one was going to maintain the project. I just took the initiative in February, but I died off around March, but seeing that no one was going to maintain it. So I got pretty far for where I'm at now. So check SIG and check datasig tests are passing. I kind of do want to finish it, but I also want to make sure that the way that I'm doing this is right in the way that's being maintained and how things will go on from here on. So this is why I'm here.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan. Mark, do you want to just take it away and go forward with the discussion?
Yeah, sure. So I guess in the beginning, we can give like a really quick high-level overview about like Bitcoin and Bcash and why we think that they're useful. And like, basically like what Matt said, Bitcoin was originally made to support Purse's backend. And it allowed Purse to scale up to the level that it is and to have like many different customers with their different accounts. So the wallet is definitely one of the best parts about like the Bitcoin Bcash code base. It also we're actively developing on in upgrading Bitcoin itself, and most of those upgrades can easily be ported over to Bcash. And then let's see, we support, we have BIP 157. So I know that BCHD has been doing all like the neutrino stuff. So we could play there. All that code is just living on a fork of Bitcoin. We don't have it merged into master in Bitcoin or Bcash yet. But we do have a list of all of the things that Bcash needs to be up to spec. And that's probably important to share with the community. So I'm just going to post that into the chat right now. Basically, we're looking for people to help us implement the latest hard fork, the current one. And then we're also looking for people that are just interested in, being part of our community and kind of like collaborating over time, because we're pretty active on GitHub these days. We're actively commenting and looking at each other's pull requests. There's like 6 of us. Anybody that's interested in, learning and contributing to like a Bitcoin Cash related project, we're just trying to like open up our community to like get more people.
Great. If at any point you want to share your screen, there's an option for that at the bottom as well.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a second. Matt, do you have any additional like thoughts or ideas for things that you think that we should talk about before I go into sharing my screen?
No, I think that's a really good overview.
Okay. All right, give me 1 second.
I guess maybe while Mark's chopping at that, I will say that some nice things that we've seen Bcash users, that come on Slack and talk to us about their projects. And because Bitcoin and Bcash are built with a plugin interface, it's really easy to make custom indexers. There's a cache, or not cache adder, but there's an on-chain protocol in Bitcoin Cash where you can you sort of broadcast an op return with an address information and stuff like that. And there was one user who was building a Bcash plugin that could filter all those out and just interface with the chain interface with the chain really well. So I think the architecture lends itself really well to that kind of project, like the plugin project, or like on-chain fancy stuff like that.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so if you go over here, this is in the BCash repo right here. We basically have this checklist of the changelog from Bitcoin ABC. And basically all of these things that are not checked off are things that we specifically don't have. But I don't think that all of them are necessarily required. So like the one thing is that this does not include the latest changes it doesn't include 18 and 19. So in particular, we really need Schnorr signatures and then the SegWit recovery transactions. So we do have a crypto library called bcrypto that's maintained by JJ, and he has the BIP Schnorr signatures implemented in it. And it's in both JavaScript and C, I believe. So the way that BCash is architected is such that everything will run with natively bound code unless that wasn't built or you're in the browser, then it'll just fall back to JavaScript silently. Nobody needs to write any cryptography itself. They just need to implement the logic around the opcodes, and because the wallet doesn't necessarily need to be sending transactions that are based on Schnorr signatures. We just need to be able to validate them. So maybe further in the future, we might want to implement sending transactions using Schnorr signatures, but we don't need that for now. We just really need to make sure that we stay compatible with the hard fork. And then, and I'm sure that Amaury would be able to explain this stuff way better because he's like obviously more familiar with this. And then we also need someone to fix the op clean stack, the clean stack rule. Yeah, and I think that if anyone is interested, like I'm definitely, I want to help like enable the community, and we can make issues on the BCash repo, and I'm on Telegram. So yeah, I just want to be able to attempt to leave this meeting with kind of some like actionable things that people in the community can try to like pick up and help out with.
So Mark, did you have a specific question for Amaury, or am I jumping ahead too far?
No, just like he would probably be able to give like a much better overview than me of the exact implementation details of these things, but maybe we don't need to go into that, and maybe we could just link the code base, the Bitcoin ABC changes.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is the best time. Like, if people have questions, we can go into the detail of those, but essentially Schnorr signature is like a different signature algorithm, and we need to modify. So there is the object-seek verify, and various operation in the scripting language that verify signature. So they need to be modified a bit to detect what kind of signature they are being given, and then apply the signature verification algorithm either for ECDSA or for Schnorr, depending on which one it is. And the SegWit recovery thing is like an exception that we are adding in the way we execute script, because what's happening is that even though there is no SegWit on BCH, sometimes people by mistake they send coin to SegWit address, because they confused BTC and BCH. And so because there is no SegWit on BCH, we ended up in the situation where those coins were became unspendable essentially. And it happened often enough so that we thought it was a good idea to allow a recovery mechanism for those. And so that's basically what it is. So there is essentially an exception where when the script that is being spent is specifically a SegWit script, then you can spend it instead of being unspendable. And we can go into the detail, but that's basically the general idea. I think there is some work that have been started by Jonathan, if I'm not mistaken, but I haven't reviewed that work yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, can I chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm gonna be frank. The SegWit recovery code, I did copy the is program logic into the script system, but what I do think is ready is I'll give an example of check datasig and checksig. So the problem why when I originally swapped out the script test for that's an ABC into that repo, I seen that a lot of the check multisig, the check datasig tests were failing, and that's strictly because there's a check that Mark Lundberg added where sec p256.1 either verifies their signatures or Schnorr signatures. So what I did was I created a function that passed 4 arguments, which was the hash, which is the signature hash, the signature, the key, and the flags. And basically it enables it the same way that's inside the spec, where if the flags enables, script flags, verify Schnorr, which is 524,288, then you make sure that the signature length is also 64 bytes in length. Else, then you create an else argument, then you pass a sec. If it's not that, then it's verifying a dir signature. So when I did that inside the checksig, the check datasig, I also added a check where it just returns the regular validate signature logic, which mixes both together inside the check, and it passed those checks. What I'm glad that actually I attended this meeting today. What I'm glad about is that I actually thought the primitives library where the transaction part takes place. So right now, hold on, let me look at exactly what I'm saying. So there's in the primitives library in BCash, there's a signature function, and it passes, the hash type for like SigHash fork ID, and then it passes a SigHash, like the original, like a regular transaction. I initially thought that Schnorr signatures were actually added to the primitives for the transaction part, but since they're not, I guess I don't really have to worry about that. So I can push this.
Yeah. You don't really want to. So you don't want to wire them too deep because you want to have the flag to know if the Schnorr signature is activated or not, right? So you don't want to, like at the bottom of the stack, have like check is this a Schnorr signature or a CDSA signature, because then you have to modify the whole stack and all the call site of various library to pass the flags in. So that's not ideal.
Right, and that logic is actually used even in the pub key CPP file too for the checker, that checksig thing that Mark Lundberg wrote. That's exactly what I did. The key ring part also that mimics that file. I added the binding for that function that JJ added into sec p256k1 because he bridged over the Schnorr signatures to that repository. So yeah, what I will be honest is that there's a lot of things too in the mempool. Like let me make sure I know what I'm saying. So there's an upgrade conditional failure for when the Schnorr flags are enabled in the mempool for transactions. So like non-upgraded nodes don't fail, I guess, or they don't invalidate the signature. Stuff is.
There are a few tricky stuff that one wants to be careful with to make sure that everything is gonna work smooth. One of them is that the activation is not gonna be happening at the same time for all the nodes, right? Because just because blocks take time to propagate on the network, it's not like a synchronous network, it's a distributed network. And so in between the time where some node received the block and some other node hasn't received the block yet, maybe the node that received the block that activate the new feature may send a transaction to the other node that contain the Schnorr signature, right? And you don't want that other node to ban the first one because it's sending invalid transaction, which is what the default behavior is. Or I'm not quite sure how it is for Bitcoin and BCash, but this is what ABC does. if someone send invalid transaction, then
it bans.
the
Yeah,
node,
it's the same thing. Yeah.
the node is going to be disconnected and banned. So you want to make sure that before you ban the node, you want to make sure that you check with the flag activated. So that you make sure that maybe you have a transaction that is not valid right now, but is eventually going to be valid when the fork activates. And if that's the case, then you don't ban the node, you just discard that transaction. So that's one of the thing. And then you want to make sure that when you activate, or if there is a reorg when you deactivate, you go through the mempool and you make sure that you only have transactions in there that are actually valid. Especially when you deactivate is the most important part of it. So when you deactivate, you may have a bunch of transactions in your mempool that use Schnorr signature, right? And if for some reason there is a reorg, you need to make sure that you remove all those transactions from the mempool.
Right. So, okay. So that spec alone that was added for that in the validation file, you're saying, hold on, you're saying that logic itself should. So I've tried to re-implement the code the exact same way, but I have no way of testing right now. So I'm gonna actually have to just spin up a testnet server when I and figure this out myself, I guess, or if anyone wants to join.
The way it has been done this time on ABC is a bit smarter than it used to. But for previous fork, when we had similar problem with the mempool, we would just clear the mempool. So if you activate and there are new opcodes, this is not a problem because this is strictly expanding the set of transactions that your node is going to accept. So in that direction, it's not that big of a deal, but it's a problem. Like imagine there is a reorg around the around the activation of the fork.
Right.
Maybe there is 2 blocks that trace, one that activate, one that doesn't, because they have different timestamp. And 10 minutes later, the other branch is going to activate, right? For instance, you want to make sure that you remove the transaction that use the new feature. And so what we used to do is just, if you reorg across the activation of a fork, we would just clear the mempool.
Okay. There's functionality for that inside the mempool library for BCash or Bcoin. So
yeah, so that's the easy solution, and that's what we used to do for previous fork, because this is uncommon enough, so that it's probably not that big of a deal to do something a bit drastic and not ideal, because this code path may never execute in practice. You need to have it there because it may, but practically speaking, it's more likely that it never executes than anything else. Right? So it's not that big of a deal, to be a bit blunt in the approach of what that is doing, if this is for the benefit of going faster.
Okay.
Jonathan, can I just real quick? I just have a question. If you're looking at primitives like keyring and stuff and public key, that would be a good place to implement Schnorr signatures, like to sign and create.
Yes.
But I don't think you necessarily need to update that.
Yes. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Exactly.
So that work is probably in script.js.
Yeah. That all the work that I haven't committed that deals with the checksig and check datasig, actually, I'll be honest, the helpers like validate TX signature, validate data signature, validate signature, all those have been modified even to today. Like the commits now are not even the ones that are in the repo today. The logic from there is basically just doing the exact same thing, checking whether if the flags are enabled or not for Schnorr. So that check. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. There is another pitfall that I kind of forgot, but I don't know if that's the case, but I suspect that BCash also have a signature cache.
Yes, there's a sig cache too, and that's exactly what I had in mind before the meeting.
So you need to be careful. So what we did is that we make the sig cache specific to the flags.
Yes.
That affect the validity of a signature or not.
Right. So then I had to add a new argument inside.
The flags like clean stack and all of that, we don't care. But the flag that actually do affect if the signature is valid or not, then those flags we added them to the computation of the key in the cache. So we avoid considering valid. Oh, we already we made the computation for that transaction. It's in the cache. We accept it, right? Even though you shouldn't because of the specific condition you're in.
Okay, so I think I have an idea how I might have to. So it only accepts 3 arguments, like that verify function for the SIG caching. So now I'm going to add another one for the flags now, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, so adding the flag is an option. You can also be blunt the same way you could beep for the mempool and clear the cache on activation, deactivation. Same thing is not ideal, but I mean, you active the fork once. So if like one block is a bit slower to validate because the cache is cleared, and then everything works, pretty fine again. That's also an option if you want to go for something simpler.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's actually, I'd rather do the easiest thing to think of something that I have no idea what to do then. I'd rather go about it that way. Okay. Other than that, the other things, like, so there was a bunch of, I almost like veered off and started doing other things for the primitives library, like adding snore signatures for transactions and adding workers that deal with like these things inside the package. So I guess I don't have to do that. So that's good. Other than that, the segment recovery, man, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to need help on that and really, really look into what I'm doing wrong. Because the thing about it that I think why it's wrong is that there's 2 ampersand. So there's one for like ampersand is program, ampersand is what else? There's also one where the flag has to be added. But I'm gonna have to double look into the code. I'd rather now just fix what I have now for the SIG cache and for check data SIG. Make sure all the tests are fine, then go about it. But if anyone wants to help me, please, by the love of God, please help me.
Yeah, so I think something that'd be really useful is literally just start opening up issues on BCash and pull requests, and then we can like have the community just start talking about things and contributing their ideas, and if it's all kind of in one place, we will do our best to like get everything merged in and such that we can have the newest the code deployed for into production for Purse.
Right.
But we would just need to make sure that it's like really well.
Yes, it's good. Right. And also, I'm glad that we came to that agreement, because before this meeting, my mind was like, those commits, by the way, are unorganized. They're crazy. They're like, they're not good. So I'm gonna refork it and make sure that the commits are actually clean with the actual updated version with the correct one. So like, it's easy to look at. It's better for me too, because I feel as if I'm doing something with the purpose as opposed to just doing it just to do it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So Mark, I'm just curious to know, do we have the window of time here to pull this off for the 15th of May?
It's getting close. I mean, we have 1 month, and ideally we'd probably like probably within about 3 weeks. Like, that's kind of pushing it, but we're getting close. That's for sure. But if we can get it done within like 2-3 weeks max, then I think that we would be good.
Can I ask you a question, Mark, or any of you? Yeah. So Javek is a very talented programmer. Javek, you don't think that like you think I can contact him on IRC? Maybe he can give me some pointers as to how to implement segment recovery the right way?
Yeah, just reach out to him.
Yeah.
Or on Bitcoin Slack too.
Okay, I'll download Slack and use it.
Yeah. He's on IRC too. Like I
yeah.
So.
And he's in the Telegram group too, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go about it doing it that way. So what I can put on my end of the bargain this week is to make sure that I just refork it, make sure the commits are clean, stage up to where they are now for check data sig and check sig. I can guarantee that's going to be done this week. Now, I'll throw away all those key rings and all the primitive TX stuff that I did, and I'm glad that we're here today, because my mind had no idea what the hell I was doing in that part. So okay.
Yeah, that's cool, and thank you for putting in the effort. We really appreciate it here at Purse.
Well, I mean, I use it for a service. I need to do it anyways. It's not like I'm using any other node.
Do you have any other questions about the code base or anything?
I guess I can say this. For I copied. So when the magnetic anomaly code was added in, I think it was November 5th. I seen the unit tests for there, and I basically base all the unit tests off of design prior to like all the other tests that deal with the exact same thing. That's the only way I can guide myself. I'd actually like, apart from just CPing the test data script JSON test from ABC to the repo, I'd like to invent my own test so that maybe it'd be better to add those into the script test file. So I mean, you guys think that's a bad idea? Just in general?
It's not bad to add tests, but probably the best idea is to use the same data that ABC tests with.
Yeah. But like a script test has stuff specifically for like verifying pay to script hash, just like other stuff that does with like checking I guess like how do I explain myself? So there's opcodes where it uses opcode from symbol, opcode from et cetera, and those are added into the script test file. So they're not specifically dealing with like JSON data. They're just like built off the primitives from the script library. So you think it's a bad idea or a good idea to do that for like for Schnorr? It probably would be a waste of time, you think, right? I don't know. I'm just asking because like I don't know if it'd be a waste of time or not because like I'm just doing it the regular way of just like testing it against the JSON test data.
Right.
I don't know.
What do you think, Mark?
Are you talking about what file in particular are you talking about?
So like in the unit test, there's a script-test.js file where it shows you. So there's a logic where it's like XSS is error, et cetera, but like there's actual independent tests to deal with the regular primitives like opcode from symbol. Then it has like a op return, op whatever, et cetera. Would you think it'd be a good idea just to add some for checksig and check datasig and just make sure the signature, just add some primitives in there that utilize checksig and check datasig for Schnorr, just like add it in there.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Because even so, like how I do about adding code before I even commit it is just like I do everything in the REPL. So like I'd rather just do it that way because that's like my ignorant way of doing it. So yeah, okay, if that's useful, then I'll do it that way too.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Where are you at, Jonathan? Geographically?
I like to keep that private.
All right. Well, I was going to say let's get lunch or something.
Oh, I'll be in the city. I'll be in San Francisco next week.
Okay, great.
Cool. Well, yeah, it sounds like you've made some good progress. Yeah, I'm just gonna say again, definitely feel free to open up issues. Like anybody in the community, just like open up issues, and then we can just discuss things there. And then from there, we can start working on like pull requests and stuff and getting them into the code base.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate being here. Thank you, guys.
So if you guys want to do this again as a follow-up in a couple of weeks, if that's appropriate, just we'll stay in touch through the Telegram group and go from there. Anybody else have any final questions or comments?
I guess I just want to say anybody that wants to learn more, just feel free to reach out and just talk to us. Like I know Yannick, you said that you were interested in, learning more about how the actual protocol works. And, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the code base. Just reach out on Telegram or on IRC.
I think I will reach out Jonathan to see a bit because I did have an overview of the code, but my solution was a bit naive, I think. So.
Oh, being honest, man, all I'm doing is copy and pasting code from C++ into JavaScript, dude. I'm an idiot, just like everyone else. like all this stuff, I'm just living off someone else's work, man. How I feel like what I'm doing is just copy and pasting. To be honest, there's some logic on there that is different in the scripting system from ABC. Like in the interpreter file, there's like is compressed or uncompressed, like checksig hash encoding, all that stuff is in BCash itself. It's just like the logic for it. Like some of the checks are not in there. Like some of them they are, but they aren't. Like they're like decompartmentalized differently. I think that if I match it to ABC completely, it might help in future reference. But I don't know. It just depends on how. Because how I look at it, it's like you have to actually know what the functions do, then you have to match it to where this file is located in this repo. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I have no problem like showing or showing you how I learned this stuff.
Yeah, I would recommend leaving comments in the code base itself. Because JJ's was very particular about the way that he architected the code base.
Yeah. I do the same thing that he does, where we do those little brackets and param buffer and butsig and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's a cool way of programming. It taught me how to program too in JavaScript. I have a question. What is the clean stack rule? I have no idea what that is. I never seen those notes. Because if someone can link me to it, I'll look into it and read it. You're saying that's not enforced, right now?
The clean stack rule is enforced right now. And so what it is that, when you make a Bitcoin transaction, it's just people say, they simplify, they say, oh, we just verify the signature, but there is actually a script system in there, and it works with a stack machine.
Mm-hmm.
So the transaction is going to push various stuff on the stack, and then the script that is in the output for the coins that you're going to spend, it's going to run with the information that is on the stack and say, okay, this is valid or this is not. And one thing that is possible is to push extra element on the stack, that the script is not going to use.
Right.
And so what's going to happen is that the script is going to run, it's going to return true or false the same way, but there are going to be a bunch of elements that are left on the stack. And so that is something that is not desirable. And so when the stack is not clean, meaning when there are a bunch of stuff that are left on the stack at the end of the execution of the script, then we consider that the script execution did not go well. And,
I think I know what you're saying.
Reject
Yes.
the transaction.
That's in the interpreter, by the way. Would that be in the interpreter, the clean stack rule? What file?
Yes, this is in the interpreter.
Okay.
It should be it should be the function that called the interpreter, and that analyze the result at the end of it.
Okay. Is there any line can you give me a rundown of the commit date that was enforced went back in November? So I had to go back to November hard fork to look at those commits. Just so I can see what line specifically.
So though there was no change. There was no change in the interpreter based on that rule, because this was a standard rule for a very long time.
Uh-huh.
So the standard rules are rules that are enforced when you accept transaction in the mempool, but you actually can have transaction in the block that are non-standard.
Okay, yeah.
And so the clean stack rule have been enforced as a standard rule for quite some time, and so the only thing that changed is that it became a consensus rule, not just a standardness rule.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which in practice changed nothing for 99% of people.
Right.
It's just the same.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for meeting here and going through this, and we'll get it packaged up and out there so that other developers can take a look and see what you guys are up to and what needs to be done next.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Amaury and Jonathan, everybody for meeting up.
Okay, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.